just a moment. Recording पूर्ण तीन को stop के लिए कोई चलो मैं on किया तो रोदर
Yes, start. Okay.
A very good afternoon, dear participants, and welcome back to the second session of day first. That is of the AICTE Atal Academy sponsored online faculty development program in photonics. Today, we are going to discuss about what is a photonics. Some of the participants, they are from other background, and for the sake of their convenience, we have chosen the topic Introduction to Photonics for our today's presentation. At the outset, I would like to thank the director of this faculty development program and principal of our college, Dr. Madhav Gavane sir, for providing me an opportunity to present my thoughts, views regarding the photonics. Dear participants, in our daily life, we encounter different things which are related to the photonics. What are those different things? Much important in our daily life. What is actually the photonics? How it can be related with different things in the nature, that part we are going to discuss. Dear friends, you may be knowing, some of you may be knowing what is a photonics. So photonics, when we consider the word photon, one question comes in mind, one thing comes in mind first, it is related to the light. One thing comes in mind, that is called as a light. And this light, as we already know, it finds a lot of applications, including data transmission. The most beautiful example is the data transmission, including optical fibers, waveguides, and optoelectronics. The simple example of photonic application I can give you is the example of your remote of your TV. If you consider the remote, we have a small LED at the tip of the remote, and when you press the buttons available on the remote, the intensity of light is changed. Manipulation of light intensity happens, and there is a change in the view, change in the channel. What it consists of that? What is the photonics? Photonics, I said, it is a light, and it basically consists of series of electromagnetic waves. When you consider a photonics, it is a particle behavior. When one normally considers it, it is a particle behavior. And photonics involves the proper use of light as a tool for the benefit of human beings. The photonics, it is derived from root word photon, which is the tiniest possible particle of light. As like electron, it is for electricity. Based on electron, we have electronics. Like that, we have a photonics, which is based on the photonics. Photonics have a wide range of scientific and technological applications. As I told you, it depends upon the electromagnetic spectrum. Mainly it depends upon the electromagnetic spectrum. It mainly consists of electromagnetic waves. And it has a broad range of scientific technological applications, including medical diagnostics, organic synthesis, communications, as well as fusion energy. And with the help of photonics, when we use photonics in our daily life, the quality of life it is increasing. The quality of life of human beings is increasing day by day because photons are used in communication. Photons are used in information technology. They are used in the advanced manufacturing, defense, health, medicine, energy. Everywhere we have a photons. And therefore, this is an important branch of science. If you consider the medical use of a laser, there are many applications. Photonics is used everywhere, starting from building constructions, telecommunication, transportation, entertainment, clothing, everywhere you can use the photonics. You can take simple example. Previously we had a CD players, DVD players. There also we use a photonics. We have a laser printers. That is the best example of photonics. We have a digital photography. We use mobile phones for capturing this mobile phone we use for capturing the photographs. That is the best example of photonics. It basically, as I told you, it is basically the electromagnetic spectrum. And the electromagnetic spectrum, it consists of some of the ionizing and non-ionizing radiations. If we consider the radio waves, visible spectrum and some part of the infrared spectrum, they can reach on the surface of Earth because they can penetrate the Earth's atmosphere. But there are certain radiations like gamma rays, like X-rays, like UV. UV also, it is blocked by ozone, we know. Microwaves also cannot reach on the Earth's atmosphere. And this electromagnetic spectrum, as I told you, it is basically photonics. As we know, wave has a dual nature, or radiation has a dual nature. Sometimes it behaves like a wave and sometimes like a particle. And it has some parameters. When you consider a wave, some parameters are always associated with it. First parameter we consider when we have a wave, we consider it as a wavelength. So if you go to the wavelength of the electromagnetic spectrum, now here if you can consider building, the wavelength of the radio waves, it is in the range, it is of the size of the buildings. Whereas the wavelength range for microwaves, we normally use microwave oven at our home. That is also the example of photonics, where microwaves are used for cooking purpose. Now microwaves, the length of the wavelength of this microwaves, it is in the range of the height of the human beings. Then we have infrared. The size of the infrared, it depends very small, as small as the tip of the needle to the butterfly. Then it comes to the visible part. For visible part, we have a wavelength of the size of the protozoans. Ultraviolet, we have a size in the range of molecules. For X-rays, we have a range, wavelength range that is of the size of that. And that's why the X-rays are used in the diffraction as well as for medical purposes. And then it comes to the gamma rays. Gamma rays, they have the wavelength that is having the size of the nucleus. So this is the entire spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum, that is basically the photonics. The science which is related to this, it is a photonics. Now, a part of this electromagnetic spectrum, which is a very important, that is the ultraviolet, infrared, and visible part. You can observe here, ultraviolet part, then we have a visible part, and then infrared part. This is the main part of the electromagnetic spectrum that is we basically utilize for photonic applications. We have a wide range of applications, but this part, very important part, it may be ultraviolet, or you can have a visible or infrared, including near infrared, mid infrared, far infrared. All these part, it is used in the device applications in the photonics. That is a very important thing as far as the application of photonics is concerned. Then you may think, why are the typical things we use light for? Anybody? Where the light is used? Anybody is having idea? When a human being takes the birth on this Earth's surface, the first thing which he encounters is the photon. Our human vision, whatever you see, for example, I am delivering a lecture on this Microsoft Teams platform. You are sitting at your home or maybe in college, and you are observing on your maybe Android mobile phone, or maybe on your desktop, or maybe on laptop, or maybe on tab. The visibility, human vision is the based on light. That is the thing which is very important. Human vision, the whole process of human vision, it is based on the light. You have light sources. What are the light sources at your home? We have LED lamps, we have fluorescent lamps, we have incandescent lamps, we have lasers, we have LEDs, we have a light coming from the sun. What is this? So all these things, all these lights, including LED lamps, including fluorescent lamps, they are illuminating. Light is falling on the things. The light is falling on the things, getting scattered by the things. And we are actually able to see the image in our eyes. That is a very important. The entire human vision, it is based on the photonics. It is based on the light. We have light sources. We have LED lamps. We have fluorescent lamps. And these are all illuminating. For example, I'm sitting here. The natural radiation, natural light of sun radiation falls on my body. It gets scattered by the body. For example, blue color of shirt. Why it looks blue? That is a human vision. You feel that it is a blue. But that is due to the scattering. Scattering of blue color occurs, reflection of blue color happens, all of the radiation is absorbed in this material and you get a blue vision. Here in this case, our eye is a detector of photon. The natural detector of photon, it is the eye. And the whole process of human vision, it is based on the fact that we are able to use the light and we are able to detect the light. That is a very important. That is, we can see the atmosphere. The whole process of human vision, It is based on the use of light and detection of light. Our eyes, these eyes, two eyes, these are based on the photon detection process. And all the images happening, imaging happens even on your mobile that uses the light. Okay, fine. This is the one example, human vision. The second example, second best example, it is a camera. I told you, camera. In front of me, there is a webcam. Camera is there. So camera is capturing the radiation which falls on my body, and you are able to see the picture of me, video of me. That is the second example where light is used. What next? The next thing is the very important thing. It is optical communications. Dear participants, look the beauty. You are sitting at your home. Morning, we have a lecture by Professor David Sokolov, one of the emeritus professor at University of Oregon and eminent resource person at UNESCO on photons. How we have seen it? This is due to the optical communication, my dear friends. We have used here the wireless communication. A person sitting in Oregon state, which is in the USA, second part of the Earth's surface, is delivering his talk. You are sitting at remote place in India and you are watching on your mobile phone. What's happening? This is due to the photons only. This optical communication, this is happening due to the photon. This is a wireless communication. When we take a phone call, we use the photonics. We use the photon. We use the electromagnetic waves. Basically, we use the radio frequency region for communication to nearby antenna. When I am speaking, how the communication happens, that is also very important. Dear participants, I am speaking here. When I am speaking, my voice, it will be converted into the, which is a sound energy, it will be converted into the electrical energy. Electrical energy, that will be converted into the photons. That will be converted into the radiation. The radiation will be connected, my mobile phone or my computer, it is connected to the one of the towers. Nearby antenna. The antenna may be connected to another antenna. That antenna is connected to the satellite. Satellite is connected, may be connected. For example, if you take the morning lecture by David Sokolov, then what was the way? He was delivering lecture in Oregon. The data is converted into the photons. It was sent to the antenna in Oregon. It was communicated to the satellite of USA. That satellite was connected to Indian satellite. The series which we have, INSAT series, that is used for communication. Our ISRO, which has launched that INSAT series. So there is a connection between two satellites through photons. Then Indian satellite INSAT 1A, 2A, 3A, that may be connected to our antenna of mobile, that is connected to your device, and you was able to observe him, you was able to listen him. This entire communication that happened in the radio frequency region. And this is optical communication. This is the best example of photonics, what we are using. Next thing, it is biomedical imaging. What is a biomedical imaging? Whenever something happens, we always say that, for example, a person, elderly person is having some problem. We say that do angioplasty, do angiography. What is this? This is a biomedical imaging. a small catheter, endoscopy. What is this? That is a biomedical imaging. It is used to see lot of things. We are able to see parts of the human body, like internal parts of the human body, through optical probes. Lot of things we are able to see inside the body. That is due to, dear participants, only due to the endoscopy. Whatever the endoscopy, light is used. Light is used. When light falls on that object, light gets scattered back, and we have an image formed. Means the next best thing where we use the light, it is the biomedical imaging. The next comes, it is human eye. Already I said it. Whatever things happening around us, we detect through these two detectors, and we create an image. This person is a black. This person is beautiful. Trees are green. This is the image created in our eyes. So that is a biomedical image. These are the routine conventional things. Let us discuss some modern technologies. Some of you are from technology field, you may have listened the word augmented reality. What is augmented reality? Dear participants, if this happens, means augmented reality or virtual reality happens, there will be no jobs, no new jobs for our teachers, new coming teachers. Because this augmented reality, where a lot of photonics is used, it is the next generation technology. What is this augmented reality? Anybody is having idea? What is augmented reality? It is basically a display. Augmented reality, it is basically a display that comes in, mixes two different scenarios. It is basically a display that comes in, that mixes two different scenarios and gives you the extra information than what you normally have in your regular vision. For example, somebody is delivering a lecture on your computer screen. We have a two-dimensional view. But when augmented reality will come in picture, you can mix two images and you can have a real three-dimensional view on your screen. Person, for example, if you have a class of some students, Professor David Sokolov, he is delivering from Oregon. Now, on screen, you will have only this passive type of learning. But when augmented reality will come into the picture, you can mix the two images and you will feel that, students will feel that he is actually physically in the classroom. So it will have a clear sense of physical presence. And that is augmented reality. That is another example, another technology where photons are used, light is used. So the whole thing about augmented reality, which is said to be a disruptive technology. There are around 500 Fortune companies like Microsoft is there, Apple is there, Google is there. They're trying to come up with augmented reality solutions. They are trying to make augmented reality as a reality. So there also in the modern technology, augmented reality, we use the photonics or we use the light. The next modern application, it is a carless driving. We call it as autonomous driving. So driverless car. That is autonomous driving. Means you have a driverless car. What is used it there? The photon or light is used for sensing. You may have seen the blind people, visually impaired people, they are using the sticks. Instead, now people are saying that there are goggles. You use the goggle. So here you will have some photonic devices, and they will emit the light. The light will scatter back, and it will be detected. And the blind person may get idea about the exact location of the object, like that. So driverless car, that is another modern era application. Next is the simple version, that is a robot. Robotics is coming. You may have seen a lot of things, a lot of engineering background peoples are here. Engineering background, robotics is engineering research is concentrated on robotics. So in robotics also lot of light is used. We call now Wi-Fi is there. What is that Wi-Fi? Wireless fidelity. Light is used there. Wi-Fi is coming. Light fidelity, high-speed internet. What is used there? Light is used there. Photonics is used there. So light certainly plays a fairly big role. All these technologies require light. Light certainly plays a fairly big role in our everyday lives. And it continues to change the ways we see things. Previously, there was a cable television. Now we have a set-top box. Light is used for that. That is also, photons are used there. So a lot of research, a lot of things are happening about the light. Now here, you already know what are the properties of light. We know wavelength is there, intensity is there, polarization is there, phase is there, all we know. All are these properties of light. Now, the important thing is that how to generate light, how to detect light, how to manipulate light, and how to make light work for us. Work for us means for the benefit of human beings. I said manipulation of light. What do you mean by manipulation? Just I told you there are certain properties of light. And for example, wavelength is there, frequency is there, phase is there, intensity is there. You modulate these properties. That is a manipulation. To modify the properties, that is called as a manipulation. Intensity, polarization, all these properties, if you manipulate and you use for betterment of human beings, for device applications, it is called as a manipulation. Now here it comes, then photonics. As I already told you, photonics comes from photon, which is the smallest unit of light. Just as electron, it is the smallest unit of electricity. Now you may be saying, why do we need, we have a lot of electronics, we have a lot of devices. Why do we need to replace them? Why do we need photonics instead of electronics? There are certain ways. The first important thing here is that the uninhibited light that travels 1,000 times faster than electrons in computer chips. That is a very important thing. Uninhibited means a directed light travels 1,000 times faster than electrons in computer chips. An optical computer will compute 1,000 times faster than any electronic computer. If we go by the research recently published, the optical computer can work 11,000 times more than electronic computer. For example, if an electronic computer takes 11,000 hours, then it can be completed within 1 hour for an optical computer, that process. So the light travels 1,000 times faster than electrons in computer chips, and optical computer will compute 1,000 times faster than any electronic computer can never achieve due to physical limitation differences between light and electricity. This is the one of the advantages. That's why people are shifting from electronics to photonics. The next important thing is when light is passed through optical fibers or open atmosphere, we can pack more number of wavelengths. Means through a single optical fiber, if it is a graded index multimode fiber, we can pack the number of wavelengths. 256 wavelengths can be passed through a single optical fiber. But when you use the electronics, that is copper, twisted copper cable wires for communication, what we need a separate 2 wires for each connection. That's why that is another advantage of photonics, that can pack more wavelengths into optical fiber so that the transmission bandwidth is increased than conventional copper wires. Next, a very important thing which is related to the photonics, it is the light encounters no electromagnetic interference. The light, it do not interfere, it do not produce the interference, and therefore the problem of crosstalk can be avoided in photonics, which is the problem in electronics. And thus, photonics, it is the science of light, wherein we understand the properties of light, wherein we understand how to generate light, how to detect light, how to manipulate light, and more importantly, how to use light for benefit of human beings. So, the science behind generation, detection, and manipulation of light, it is called as a photonics. And as I told you, when we have a radiation or light, it has a dual nature. And that is a very important wave particle duality. As already we know, there are certain phenomena. For example, bending of light around the edges of obstacle, scattering of light, superposition of two waves, superposition of two light waves. There we consider the wave nature of a light. But there are certain examples, there are certain phenomenons which cannot be explained on the basis of wave nature of light. Maybe Compton effect is there, maybe black body radiation is there, photoelectric effect is there. So there we need to have the particle nature of light. And as the light, it has a both wave nature as well as the particle nature. Which nature of light is operative depends upon the kind of interaction we do. What kind of interaction we do, it depends on, for example, you are having a camera, there we use the particle nature. For example, you have a CCTV, there use the particle nature. So the use of the radiation, whether use of the light, whether it is for which use, depending upon that, we have a wave nature or the particle nature. The study on the photonics began immediately after the Second World War. People tried to develop, because already transistors were there. People were trying to develop the field effect transistors, and when scientist Mayman first discovered the maser, the research in the photonics has started. The term photonics came in wider use in 1960s with the invention of a laser and laser diode. When the laser diode was initially invented, it was intended to describe the field where the goal was to use light to perform various functions. But the research continued. There was not much use of these lasers, But when the optical fiber was invented in the 80s, the people started using fiber optic communication system in 1980s, and there the photonics become very popular. And as already we know, it refers to the science of generation of light, detection of light, and manipulation of light. The importance of photonics can be seen by the Nobel Prizes received for this field. Dear participants, you'll surprise. Starting from 2000 to 2020, some 21 Nobel Prizes were given. Out of that, around 10 Nobel Prizes were given to the research related to the photonics. Given to the research that was related to the photonics. That much importance the photonics is receiving in our this day-to-day things. If we go by this year's 2018 Nobel Prize, the Nobel Prize in Physics for 2018 was awarded to Arthur Ashkin for invention of optical tweezers, and Gerard Mururu and Donna Strickland for chirped pulse amplification. Immediate to that, 2017 Nobel Prize was awarded to Rainer Weiss, Barish Throne for decisive contribution to the LIGO, laser interferometry based gravitational observatory. In India also we are trying at in our Marathwada region, near Aunda Nagnath, near Nanded, we have a LIGO laboratory is established. In world there are 3 sites. Out of that, 1 site it is in the India, and that is near in Maharashtra near to Nanded. So the 2017 Nobel Prize was given for decisive contribution to the LIGO detector and observation of gravitational waves. That is use of laser interferometers for gravitational wave detection. 2014 Nobel Prize, which was given to the Akasaki, Amano and Nakamura for invention of efficient blue light emitting diodes, which has enabled bright energy saving white light sources. That is a light emitting diode. Blue light emitting diodes. The Nobel Prize was given for blue light emitting diodes. Same year, 2014 Nobel Prize in Chemistry was given to Betsy Hell and Mornair for development of super resolved fluorescence microscopy. We have one lecture on this photoluminescence spectroscopy also, fluorescence microscopy. How there, Dr. Harnath sir, you will be talking about this is spectroscopy related things. So 2014 2 Nobel Prize, one in physics and chemistry, they were given to the research in photonics. Similarly, 2012 Nobel Prize was awarded for groundbreaking experimental methods that enable measuring and manipulation of individual quantum systems, including quantum optics, laser cooling of atoms, optical frequency standards. We know neutron is highly unstable, that cannot be made stationary. But with the laser cooling, we can trap the atoms. We can cool the atoms and we can stop, literally we can trap the atom. And for that invention, 2012 Nobel Prize was given. Another important Nobel Prize in 2010 was given for groundbreaking experiments regarding two-dimensional material graphene. And that research paper was basically highlighted, that paper has highlighted interesting implication of graphene in photonic applications. Similarly, 2009 Nobel Prize, it was given for groundbreaking achievements concerning the transmission of light in fibers and for optical communication. That is optical fibers, fiber optics, optical fiber communication to Boyle and Smith, and for invention of imaging semiconductor circuit, CCD sensor, charge coupled device. We all see now, all our college campuses, entire university campuses, they are under CCTV surveillance. What is that? That is basically related to the photonics, and the 2009 Nobel Prize was given for that invention. Similarly, 2005 Nobel Prize given for the quantum theory of optical coherence. jointly towards given for optical coherence and for their contributions to the development of laser-based precision laser spectroscopy, including optical frequency comb technique. Whereas 2001 Nobel Prize what is given for achievement of Bose-Einstein condensation in dilute gases of alkali atoms and for early fundamental studies of the properties of condensates. Similarly, 2000 Nobel Prize, it was given for the optoelectronics. 1997 Nobel Prize was also given for the development of cooling and trapping of atoms with laser light. Means so many Nobel Prizes. They are given to the invention of this photonics, the research related to the photonics. And therefore, the photonics is an important area. Therefore, we decided to organize this faculty development program on photonics. You may think whether people ask whether optics and photonics are same. You may be thinking whether optics and photonics are same. Are they different? Some people refer certain phenomenon. For example, science of light is optics. Certain group of people, they will say, no, it is photonics. Some will say that it is optics. Some will say that it is a photonics. Are they different? Or what is the difference then? Are they similar? There it comes to the question. They are not really different, but not really same also. Because when you consider optics, when somebody is talking about the optics, what they are looking is at properties of light that are based on the wave nature of light. According to Saleh, we have a book by Saleh. The whole my presentation, most of the things I have covered from this book by Saleh. This Photonics, Fundamental of Photonics, second edition by Saleh. So there comes the difference, optics and photonics. When somebody is talking, possibly when somebody is talking about optics, what they are looking at properties, those are based on the wave nature of light. But when somebody is talking about photonics, they are talking about the physical processes which involve the particle nature of light. And here it comes to the similarity and differences. That is, when someone is talking about optics, normally they will talk about the lenses, and they will talk about mirrors like that, convex lens, concave lens. So they are talking about the wave nature of light. And when somebody is talking about photonics, they are talking about the physical processes which involve the particle nature of light. But we should appreciate that at some phenomenon, at some places we need wave nature, and at some places we need a particle nature. That is the beauty of light. Early in the morning we wake up, we come in front of the mirror, we comb the mirrors, okay, looking good. So that is nothing but the wave nature of light. And we immediately start to look at this. For example, photo is taking with the help of this mobile phone. There you will start to use light as a particle. So that is the beauty. That is the beauty of this photonics. Just a moment, participants. Sorry for interruption. So we were discussing whether they are same. Optics and photonics, they are same. As I told you, both are not really same and not both are really different. The optics is a general area of physics covering wide range of topics related to the study of light. Optics includes such subfields as geometrical optics, physical optics, and quantum optics. Photonics is a subset of optics discipline. Photonics, it is the subset of optics discipline. Geometrical optics sometimes referred to as a classical optics. Geometrical optics, what Dr. David Sokolov taught us, that is a geometrical optics. Things were related to the geometrical optics. And that is a basically classical optics and primarily concerned with the manipulation of light using devices like lenses, mirrors, and prisms. And there we model light using ray approximation. There we model the light as a ray approximation. The typical example, you can say that the typical example of this ray optics is the design of lenses for camera. For example, I have a web camera here. That web camera is having a small lens. So there it comes, the ray optics while designing, because it is collecting the rays. You will have a acceptance angle, aperture, like that. When we have optical fiber, there it comes, numerical aperture, acceptance cone, so like that. So physical optics is the study of light. As I general optics we say, it is a study of light where wave nature is a predominant. Whereas the quantum optics, that we call it as a photonics, where the particle or quantum nature of light is important. And this quantum optics and photonics, they are closely related. Both sometimes they are used as a synonymous terms also. So you may have a clear idea that what is this photonics and optics. There are then different processes. We have a ray optics, which is a Fermat's principle. That says that light travels in a straight line path. But the ray optics failed to explain the concept like wavelength and the phase of a light. Which Fermat, long back in 16th century when he invented it, it failed to explain concepts like what is the wavelength and what is the phase of light. So we have a wave optics. And wave optics failed to explain phase of the wave, polarization of the wave. We have electromagnetic optics, and which is based on the electromagnetic waves, reflection, transmission, normal incidence by the mid-18th century. And quantum optics, or we call it as a photonics, it started actually after the invention of the Planck. When Planck actually came up with the paper of a black body radiation, explanation of the black body radiation in 1900, where he said that light is quantized. The emission of light and absorption of light, it is quantized. And there, Planck put the idea of quantization of light, quantum of light, and it came quantum optics. Then we have a, it's called as a, so ray optics started long back in the 16th century with the invention from Sir Isaac Newton, where he set forth the theory which is called as a corpuscular theory of light. Then the Fermat essentially hypothesized that light travels in the path of least time. Scientist Thierry de Fermat, who has the famous principle of Fermat's principle, according to whom he essentially hypothesized at that time that light travels in a path of least time. So what does that mean? In a homogeneous medium, it actually corresponds to saying to light travels in straight lines. If I use the light source over here, I can essentially model this light source as a ray of light that are coming and hitting me and from me and bouncing from me. This is according to Fermat. That is, light travels in the path of least time. In a homogeneous medium, it actually corresponds to saying that light travels in straight lines. If I use the light source over here, I can essentially model this light source as a ray of light that are coming and hitting me and coming to back to me in a straight line. So once you are able to say that light travels in straight paths, you can use rays to represent the propagation of light. And that is the simplest way of explaining how light travels in different media. This according to the ray optics those days was a fairly powerful concept as far as the understanding of properties of light is concerned. And that is going to be a starting point for most of the discussions that we do in the early part of the course. Means this, whenever you go to the high school level optics or junior level, there we study this. Geometrical optics, that's basically ray optics, wherein Fermat said that light travels in straight lines, which we call it. Okay, fine. Then there were postulates of ray optics. Light travels in the form of rays. The rays are emitted by light source and can be observed only when they reach the optical detector. And the first time came the concept of refractive index. An optical medium is characterized by a quantity n, which is called as the refractive index, whose value is always greater than or equal to 1. One value for air medium. Already we know all these refractive index definition and all those things. So that was the Fermat's thing. Then it came the wave optics. Huygens and Young's double slit experiment, all you know those things. The scientist by name Huygens in mid-16th century, he came up with the hypothesis that light travels as a waves just like sound waves. This was a hypothesis given by the Huygens theory, we call it. That is, light travels as waves just like sound waves, and Huygens hypothesized that light also has wave-like property. So that happens to be the superseding what we see in the ray optics. So we have different optics that was called as a wave optics. And the things which ray optics failed to explain, wavelength parameter, we started here. Here, the wave optics started explaining the terms like wavelength and concept of phase that light carries. Wave optics successfully explained that how the wavelength, what is the phase and what is the wavelength associated with the wave optics. So when you are looking at them as rays, the rays do not represent any particular color, nor it represent the accumulation of phase as it propagates as far as the ray optics is considered. It only tells about the direction of light. But means ray optics, it always tells us about the direction of light, in which way the radiation is going. But dear participants, wave optics, it tells us that what is the wavelength of light? What is the phase of light? That was suggested by, that was explained by the scientists, this Huygens and Young. Then we have wave optics. Here we can have the idea, the entire wave optics, as I told you, the wave theory came. Light propagates in the form of waves. We said that is the speed of the light was decided. It was a c is equal to 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. So that was the wave optics. Then there came the ray, another optics, and that was electromagnetic optics, based on the in the year mid 1950s and mid 1900s. 1850s and 1800s. There was a declaration from Maxwell. He declared that light travels as electromagnetic waves. That is a very important. It was the Maxwell who put forth the idea of electromagnetic waves. He advanced the theory that light is an electromagnetic wave phenomenon. And he formulated, as we know, there are 4 famous Maxwell's equations. He formulated a set of fundamental equations of enormous importance that bear his name, Maxwell's equation. Similarly, Rayleigh also contributed to it. So we have electromagnetic optics, where light can be described as an electromagnetic wave phenomenon, governed by the theoretical principles that govern all other forms of electromagnetic radiation, such as radio waves and X-rays. This conception of light is called as electromagnetic optics. And this electromagnetic radiation propagates in the form of 2 mutually coupled wave vectors. When we have this, for example, the electric field we have, the magnetic field we have, and this is the direction of propagation. Normally, so these 2 vectors, mutually perpendicular, electric field and a magnetic field. So there Maxwell has proposed that electromagnetic radiation propagates in the form of 2 mutually coupled wave vectors, an electric field wave and a magnetic field wave. And nevertheless, it is possible to describe many optical phenomena using a simplified scalar wave theory. And that was basically called as a wave optics, wherein we have wavelength and phase. And then already we have a ray optics also. But another important thing came around 1885, the scientist Max Planck. He hypothesized that light emission as well as absorption is quantized. So you say that modern optics evolved from hypothesis of Max Planck, which essentially gives a much bigger picture. And there comes the quantum optics. The topic of quantum mechanics, some people call it as a photonics. And here it took the birth of photonics, which said that according to Max Planck, light emission and absorption is quantized. And Albert Einstein in 1915, he declared that light itself comprises quanta of energy, and he coined the term photons. So the entire thing about the quantum nature or particle nature of light, there is a lot more discussion, a lot of things can be discussed regarding this. But each of these, ray optics, I have shown with this is the picture which I have taken from the book by Saleh. Ray optics failed to explain certain things. The theory quantum optics provides the explanation of all optical phenomena. Whatever proposed in ray optics, what is proposed in wave optics, what is proposed in electromagnetic optics, all these theories can be explained with only one theory, that is quantum optics. So quantum optics is very important, where the particle of the wave is considered that it is having the particle nature, that is a quantum optics. Normally, people say that, scientists say that electromagnetic theory provides most complete treatment for the light. But whatever the things, those cannot be explained by ray optics. Those were explained in wave optics. Those cannot be explained in the wave optics. They were explained in the electromagnetic optics, and electromagnetic optics failed those things. Those were covered by the quantum optics. And this quantum optics is nothing else but our photonics. Here it comes the birth of photonics. Why we are looking for these basic things? Because next lecture onwards, you will have lectures which are basically related to the advanced topics. You may not be naming these terms, how the photonics originated, how the photonic sources originated. As you already know, we use for our daily life, we use the LEDs, LED lamp. Our two-wheelers have the LED lamps. Our four-wheelers have the LED lamps. So we have basically two types of sources. Photonic sources, normally there are two types of sources. One is LED, that is light emitting diode, which is an incoherent source of light, and other is a laser, that is a light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, and that is the coherent source of light. Some of you may have seen the kitchen laser, which we use for presentation, making presentations like this, kitchen laser. So that is a laser. And whatever the LEDs, we have, for example, I have a mobile, and backside of this, if you see, there is a torch. What is this? This is an incoherent source of light. What is the torch made up of? The torch, I will close it. You can see here, small LED. That is an incoherent source of light. Because as soon as I put this flashlight on, it was spreading. The light was spreading. But I have a laser source. See, it will not spread. I will show you. Just a moment. See here how light is starting. So this is a coherent source of light, laser, simple laser, kitchen laser I have used here to show you. So this is a photonics. These two sources. When I shown you the flashlight of this mobile phone, that is a LED, incoherent source of light. And the second one thing which I showed you, that is basically related to the coherent source of light, that is a laser. And only these two sources, main sources, LED, which emits light by spontaneous emission of radiation, laser, which emits light by stimulated emission of radiation. These two only gives you the base for the photonics applications. So as I told you, the LED, it emits the light by spontaneous emission. That is a non-coherent. It is emitted randomly in all possible directions. That already all of you are knowing. The next comes is the laser, very important. Here the light is this is a light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. And it has a special properties. We already know the special properties like monochromaticity. Monochromaticity is there, directionality is there, coherence is there, high intensity is there. Coherence is very important as far as the LED and laser are considered. The application of a laser, it is based on these properties: monochromaticity, the high directionality, extreme directionality. You can steer your laser pointer towards the moon also. So we have a monochromaticity. Monochrome means having a single color or wavelength. Coherence, that is light associated with the stimulating photon. Those are in phase and same polarization. That is coherence. Then we have a extreme directionality, low divergence angle. If I consider this light torch, the divergence was more like this. But when you consider the laser, it has extreme directionality, low divergence. See, pointer, extreme low. So that is the thing which is a very important and extremely high intensity. That property of a laser that is used in its applications in various devices. So this is the stimulated emission of radiation. I will not go in the details of this. How the normally when pumping happens, the atom in the ground state energy level absorbs the external energies, go to the excited level. When it goes to the excited level, it remains there for lifetime, and once the lifetime is over, it comes back to ground, and when it comes back to the ground energy level, it emits the excess energy. Whatever this excess energy, it is emitted in terms of the excess energy, it is emitted in terms of the quanta of light, that is called as a photon. The photon, it is used to, when the first photon is emitted by spontaneous emission, that is used to stimulate the atom, next atom in the excited level. The next atom in the excited level comes to the ground energy level. And similarly, there are two photons again stimulate one more. They were 2, it becomes 4. 4 again stimulate 4 atoms. These 4 plus coming 4, 8. Like that, the stimulated emission happens, and these photons, initially it was 1, 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, 8 became 16, 16 became 32. So this is the amplification process. So stimulated first, and stimulated means the atoms are forced to come to ground energy level before its light. So that is a stimulation. And this, when this happens, they will come to the ground energy level before completing their lifetime, and the radiation will be emitted. So that is the stimulated emission of radiation. So we will not go to into the details, but what are the real world photonic applications? Where you can use this photonics? What are the real world applications? There are n number of real world applications, my dear friends. The first source, it is LED. So light emitting diodes, we already know LED finds applications in various fields, including optical communication, whatever the local area network. In your computer lab, we use local area network. The source for radiation used there, source of photon, it is LED. Optical communication, alarm. In bank, we have a burglar alarm. We use LEDs there. Remote controlled operations. As I told you that at our home, we have a remotes. We switch the channel. So there we use the LED. Robotics, we use the LED because that is a short distance communication. So it finds a lot of applications. LED also. It is used as a backlighting for TVs. We have LED TVs now in market. It is used for alphanumeric displays at railway station, or even in bus, or even on airport. We have alphanumeric displays to display the arrival of planes and departure of flights, like that. They are used in the automotive, for this automotive industry, for lighting. They are used for dimming the lights, like that. There are a number of uses of LED in real world. But the major use of this photonics, it is based on the laser. Laser is probably the most versatile tool available with the scientists, with the industry persons. Nowadays, most of the industry material processing applications in the industry, may it be welding, may it be drilling, may it be a cutting, or may it be high heat treatment, that like a hardening, annealing, glazing, cladding. Clearing of space debris, laser balancing, remote decontamination, and decommissioning of components of unused nuclear installations, laser ablation, oil and gas exploration, automotive industry, where industrially laser is a very important. As I told you, it finds lot of applications in the material processing due to its special properties, significant properties like special coherence, collimation, high intensity, monochromaticity. Due to this, laser finds a lot of applications in the material processing. There are certain advantages of laser material processing. For example, if you take the welding or cutting, what we have normally, we cut this is a contact process. Even we weld, when we do the welding, we have, for example, these two materials, we weld, this is a contact process. We have a pillar material and we have a welding. So that is a contact process. And sometimes it attracts contamination. So laser material processing, it is a non-contact process, in which the tools do not come in contact with the workpiece, and it eliminates the problem of contamination. Next important thing is that there are some areas which are hazardous areas, which are dangerous areas, or which are difficult to reach places. Sometimes, for example, nuclear reactors. There we cannot reach every time, but there we can steer our laser beam and you can do the laser operations there, material processing there. So the laser beam can be steered to difficult to reach places which are otherwise not accessible. So that is one, these are some advantages of laser material processing. As far as the industry is considered, we use a lot of lasers. NdR, neodymium, yttrium, aluminum garnet, ND glass, carbon dioxide, ruby lasers are applied for material processing. Whereas the mechanism which is used when we use a metal, because somebody may say that metals are good reflectors of light, and how can what is the basic mechanism that is used in the industry? So even though metals are good reflectors of light with around 80% of reflectivity, when the melting point is reached, see here on this diagram you can see, when the melting point is reached, when this happens, melting point is reached, the absorptivity is suddenly increasing. As soon as the melting point is reached, the absorptivity is suddenly increasing, the absorptivity increases and vaporization point is reached. So in that way, the material processing lasers are used. So here it comes to the mechanism, how they are used. A lens is used, a small lens is used, a focusing lens is there. This is basically the focusing lens. When you focus the large radiation, large amount of radiation with the help of a lens, for example, lens. When in our school days, we used to have a lens. And when we used to have a lens, we used to focus the light with the help of a lens on the piece of the paper. And the piece of the paper burns. So that is basically nothing but concentration of light, concentrating the light. In the similar way, the same principle, it is used for focusing the radiation. Focusing lenses are used, but the focal length of such lenses is a very small, 2 centimeter, 1 centimeter, like that. And by using such focusing lenses, the radiation, it is concentrated, focused on a very small region. It is adjusted at a point, very teeny spot, and all power, it is concentrated in that teeny spot. And the material, when the radiation is absorbed by the material, I will show you how it is absorbed. I have a formula for it also. So here you see. So I have a lens. I have focused the laser beam with the help of a lens on this spot, and when the lens is used, the lens focuses the light, entire light, to the focal point of the lens. And when the light is focused at the focal point of the lens, you see here a distribution of intensity. Most of the intensity, it is concentrated at the center of this part. So that way lenses are used. For example, if you take, here I have taken one example, B. What will be the diameter? So B is F lambda by R. Forget about this. For example, you take, what is the intensity? What is the intensity? The formula is a PR square divided by pi lambda square F square. Dear students, I have a laser beam of 1.5 watt. Dear participants, I have a laser beam of 1.5 watt only. And I have wavelength of 1.08 micrometer. The beam is focused by a beam radius 2 centimeter. using the focal length of length 2.5 centimeter. The intensity it is concentrated 10 raised to 6 watt per centimeter square. The intensity it is concentrated on 10 raised to 6 watt per centimeter square. How much intensity? 1.5 watt, and it came to the million watt. So therefore that much intensity, it is focused or that is available at the point of focus, and therefore the laser that finds good application in the material processing. The operations like welding, drilling, cutting, they can be done with the help of these photonics lasers. Then this I will skip, I will not go into the details. Melting, vaporization, as I told you, they are used for hole drilling, cutting and welding. Hole drilling with lasers. Here pulsed lasers are used. Diamond dies can be drilled with the help of these lasers. So that is these are the advantages of this laser drilling. That is a materials like gemstones, ceramics, which are hard and brittle in nature. They can be drilled, which are very extremely difficult to drill. They can be drilled with the help of a laser. You can have large depth, hole to depth ratio. The problems such as a breakage of tool bits, wear and tear, they are also avoided in the laser. Again, that is a non-contact process, so problem of contamination is also avoided. These are the some advantages of using lasers for hole drilling. These are the some holes drilled by using the laser. Just for example, I have taken here. This already I have covered. Then in the similar fashion, cutting is used. Cutting is very similar to the drilling the holes, overlapped holes, we can say that. And the cutting also we can use the lasers. Carbon dioxide is the best tool which is used for cutting purpose. So this I will not go into the details. So here you can get idea about the cutting process. Steel 2 millimeter thickness workpiece can be drilled at a speed of 5 meter per minute. Another best example of this laser cutting, it is in the garment industry. Now all these branded companies, we say that the fitting, my shirt number for example, it is a 40, I say that it is a 40. So all the material size, the cloth which is cut for this 40 size shirt, it is cut with the help of a laser. No human intervention is there. A laser, 200 watt carbon dioxide laser can cut pieces for 50 suits in 1 hour. Can you imagine? So that much power, that much energy it is having, lasers are having. So a single 200 watt laser can be used to cut pieces for 50 suits within 1 hour. That is the beauty of laser cutting. That is used not only to cut steel, titanium, wood, cloth, rubber, acrylic resin, cardboard, etc. The lasers can be used for cutting them. Not only this industry, lasers are used in the aerospace also. LIDAR, light detection and ranging. Just like we have a radar, radio wave detection and ranging. Similar to that, we have a LIDAR, light wave detection and ranging, wherein we use lasers for imaging systems, for testing, analysis of aircraft, holographic head-up displays, and optical pattern recognition in aerospace technology. Next, it is agriculture. Now, all the weather forecasting, my LIDAR is used nowadays. If you go to the Hyderabad, for example, particularly for our region, there is a my LIDAR situated in the Hyderabad, which is used for weather forecasting and monitoring the agricultural processes. So photonics applications in agriculture facilitates the use of satellite remote sensing to detect large scale crop effects. Previously, people used it to write on their satbara, whatever the things told by other people. But now with the help of this satellite imaging, with the help of a laser, you can have what is the exact crop pattern, what is the exact nature of cultivated crop, that can be seen with the help of these photons, So the photonic application in agriculture facilitate use of satellite remote sensing to detect large scale crop effects, monitor food production, quality, flood situation. There you can use the photonics. Then biomedicine. At the introduction also I have told you that photonic applications in biomedicine are very important. They are used in the surgery, they are used in the therapies. To cure cancer, we say that whenever a person is having cancer, we say that chemotherapy. The only solution to cancer, it is a chemotherapy. So nowadays we can have a photodynamic therapy or photochemotherapy. Entirely it is based on the photonics, where we use either LED or laser to cure the cancer. That is a photodynamic therapy or photochemotherapy. In the dermatology, to remove the birthmarks, to remove the melanins, the lasers are beautifully used. Apart from this, in surgery also, the photonic applications are used. If you go by the lasers, we have argon laser that is used in eye surgery, brain surgery, removal of birthmarks, photocoagulation, angioplasty, photochemical treatments, eye surgery, angioplasty. For example, argon ARF excimer laser is used for radial keratomy, that is related to the eye surgery. Carbon dioxide laser is basically used for surgeries, oviduct surgery, brain surgery, removal of precancerous lesions, spinal surgery, cancer removal, photochemical treatments, Doppler velocimeters, tropic ulcer treatment. Helium neon laser, it is used for holographs, genetic engineering, DNA analysis, brain surgery. Like that, Nd:YAG laser, it is used as eye cataract surgery. Xenon chloride excimer lasers are used for angioplasty. Like that, lasers are used in medicine also. The next application, it is in the construction, scanning site topography, laser distance measuring and alignment, laser barcode readers to inventory materials, 3D analysis to track the progress of construction. These are the some examples wherein photonics can be used in for the construction process. Apart from this, photonics can be used in the energy sector, like production of photovoltaic devices, where we use the solar electric panels. Due to the use of laser ablation techniques or techniques like pulsed laser deposition, the solar panel production cost has been reduced drastically. Next energy application, it is used in the isotope separation. I will not go into the details. That is also used in the nuclear fusion. Whatever the nuclear energy it is produced, that is produced with the nuclear fusion. And this nuclear fusion reaction can be initiated and sustained by using the lasers. That is another important application of a laser in energy sector. So we have a fusion reactor like this, wherein we put a deuterium tritium pellet here. We have a counter propagating laser pulses, and these pellets, due to the radiation pressure, gets exploded, and a tremendous amount of energy is produced during this process. This is the use of a laser in fusion reactor in nuclear power plants. This is a reactor, and then water is a circulator. When water is circulated, with extremely high temperature, water vapor is formed, and the water vapor it is circulated. And when you circulate the water vapor, turbines are rotated, and they are used to generate the electricity. The next application, it is in the information technology. Just now we have seen the augmented reality one application I told you. Apart from this, we say that cloud storage. We have a Google Drive, but where is the drive? Where is a Microsoft One Cloud? That is photonics is used in the data storage. Apart from this, ultra fast data switching, transmission of data across fiber optic networks, communication. There also we use the information technology. Another beautiful example, it is the photonics, it is the holography, which is used for particle size analysis, holographic microscopy. Then it can be used as a holographic memories. You cannot imagine, entire Britannica encyclopedia can be, the information can be stored within this much size, 10 by 10 centimeter. So that much power it is having holographic memories. Then we have a holographic interferometry, non-destructive testing. Basically, that is used to test the aeroplane tires. When aeroplane it is in flight, you can check with the help of laser whether the tire it is in good condition or not. Lasers are the best tool for detecting this non-destructive testing. Apart from this defense, we use a lidar. Already I have this laser gyro. This is a very important. Now what happens? This laser gyro, this is used for providing direction for the ship and aeroplanes. Because sometimes initially the magnetic needles were used to provide the direction, but with the invention of science, people used to have heavy magnets in other ships, and they used to misguide the ships. So there, laser gyro, it is beautifully used to provide the direction. Then we have a laser range finder, then measurement of distance, measurement of velocity. These are some examples in the defense. Then we are at the last point, whether all this photonics is okay, whether that is, I have said everything that is related to the benefit of human beings, that is used for betterment of the human beings. We have what is the photonics, then starting from generation, manipulation, utilization, use, whether all radiations are beneficial for human beings, or there are some side effects. Of course, there are some side effects. There are some biological effects of these electromagnetic radiations. There are two types of radiations, one ionizing and non-ionizing, as we have seen already. And non-ionizing radiations, they have two major problems. One is electrical, for example. If you touch to the antenna, for example, a set-top box is there, centrally there is one antenna. If a transmission is going on, and if suppose you touch by way some, for example, this soft region, if you touch there is always a chance of shock or thermal burns, severe burns due to the touching the antenna. Another important thing is that induced electric current. Induced electric current can cause the spark or fires. That is one thing. But one of the very important biological effects that is due to this radiation, it is based on the impact of this photonics on the human beings. For example, our eyes, we see lot of persons, human beings wear the specs. Why? This is one of the impact. There was a recent study. This is one of the impact of biological effect of electromagnetic radiation. We use a lot of radiation. We have a mobile towers. We have a high power transmission lines. We use a mobile phone continuously. We use now teaching is also online. We use the screens, laptop, desktop. Our eyes are particularly vulnerable to the microwave radiation, microwave range, and RF energy. And this radiation emitted or received by this mobile, this comes into the microwave range. And as our eyes are vulnerable to this microwave radiation, there is an impact on your eyes, and that can prolonged exposure to the microwaves can lead to cataracts. This is one of the reasons we have less sparrows. We say that mobile towers are responsible for sparrows. Yes, mobile towers are responsible for the sparrows, decrease in sparrows. Apart from this, continuous exposure to the power transmission lines or mobile towers above a certain specific level of electromagnetic radiation can cause childhood leukemia, adult leukemia, breast cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, miscarriage, clinical depression. These are some diseases, representative diseases. This is I have collected this from one of the research papers from Oxford University, where they have mentioned that these are some of the diseases which may be occurring in the persons due to excessive prolonged exposure to the microwaves. So both photonics, it has some good applications as well as it has some harmful also applications. So with this, you can read a lot of photonics material available freely. You can take the screenshot of this. These are the freely available magazines. All these 5 magazines, both print copy as well as online copy, can reach at your home or reach our institute, your institute freely. You just need to register there, you put your email address and you put your mailing address for postage. You'll get all these magazines freely. Most of the material I covered is from these magazines also. Photonics.com, Photonics Media is one. Then Photonics Spectra is there. Laser Focus World is there. Biooptics World is there. Biophotonics is there. These are the some 4 or 5 magazines which are freely available to everybody. You can subscribe them. Online they will give you. This COVID-19 pandemic, they will send hard copy to you also. But sometimes it comes, sometimes not. But mostly they will issue the hard copy also. So I request you, all of you, to subscribe all these magazines for more information related to the photonics. And lastly, if you have any questions, you are always welcome. You can raise your hands and ask the questions. Then we'll go to the participation instructions and then we will conclude the session. Anybody is having questions?
Hello. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. You can ask your question.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes.
How many institutes are in the India? They are working in the field of photonics.
Institutes.
Yeah.
The best research center is at IIT Delhi. Then you have a International School of Photonics, which is a Cochin University of Science and Technology. Then there are some institutes which offer the MSc program in photonics, like Manipal University is there. Then our college is there. Then we have Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bangalore. They also offer research in photonics. These are the some institutes where you can go for higher studies related to the photonics, or your students also. One of our participants, Mr. Mayur Sate, I think Mayur has
I
asked
am asking that question.
He is doing PhD.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Cochin
Yeah,
University
International
of
School of
Science.
Photonics, Cochin
Yes,
Institute of Science and Technology.
That is one of the beautiful university. One of the resource person, we have a Mayur Sate's guide as a resource person
Thank
for
you,
us.
sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. If you have questions, you ask. Otherwise, I will be there throughout the FDP. You can ask later on also, no problem. So, if there are no questions, first I would like to thank for your patience listening, and then we'll go with the instructions for the whether my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Dear participants, this FTP is organized for you only. This is for your benefit. If you have any difficulty, you have any technical problem, you can always contact to me or our team. All group admins in WhatsApp group are our colleagues and they can solve your or resolve your query. We have provided the updated list of faculty this IDs, FDP ID for correspondence that you can use for all correspondence. As you already know, we are conducting this FDP through Microsoft Teams app. Already you have installed this. I think most of you may be the member of WhatsApp group also. If you are not the member of this WhatsApp group, you can contact to one of the, or you can contact directly me on the number which is given in the brochure. Another important thing is that most of our research persons are renowned. Tomorrow, I have shared with you the schedule. Please take care of your mic and video also, because sometimes you forget to unmute yourself and this may be distracting to the resource persons. If you have any doubts or questions, you can raise your hand. We will allow you to ask the questions to the resource person. Next important thing is that attendance is a mandatory as per the Atal Academy guidelines. We will share you the attendance link during the session, and that will be active for 10 minutes only. Next important thing is that you already know this entire faculty development program, it is evaluated on the basis of test. Securing minimum 60% marks in the test is a mandatory for the getting the certificate. 80% attendance and securing 60% marks in the final quiz, that is a mandatory for the getting the certificate. So for that purpose, we have planned to arrange a daily quiz. That daily quiz will be beneficial for you, so that when you solve daily quiz, you will have idea what type of questions are there, what type of questions are prepared for daily quiz. Not the same, but similar questions you will have for the final quiz. So in order to get an overall idea about the what type of a final exam will be there, we have planned the daily quiz. The marks of daily quiz will not be considered for your final assessment, but it is mandatory to attempt the daily quiz. The daily quiz link will be shared in the evening on WhatsApp group, and the time will be also mentioned. Normally it will be around 2-3 hours like that. That will be mentioned on the WhatsApp group. So by 7 p.m. daily, we will share the link for quiz, daily quiz. And apart from this link, we will share with you the feedback form that will be also available on the WhatsApp group. So daily feedback will be there, daily quiz will be there, and at the end of this FDP, you will have to attempt one final quiz. The marks of that quiz will be considered for your final assessment for getting the certificate. Another important thing is that we are monitoring the daily attendance. Our team, they are taking the screenshots and downloading the attendance from Microsoft Teams app. So please be attentive. If you have any questions, our team members are always there to resolve your queries. If you have any questions, you can always ask to us. If anybody is having any doubt, you can ask.
So this is a very good initiative taken by you, sir. I have attended so many Atal FDPs, but this type of facility ke daily practice test will be there, and such type of thing you have initiated first, sir, and I am appreciating it, sir. Wonderful, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. These instructions also we will share on the WhatsApp group.